Welcome, everyone, to our family engagement night focused on the importance of summer reading. We're so glad that you are joining us, and we hope that you leave our session today with some new tools and strategies to support summer reading at home. I'm Liz Ritz, and I am your Director of Teaching and Learning for Oak Harbor Public Schools, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here and sharing the screen with one of my favorite people who I will let introduce herself.
Hello, everybody from home. It is so nice to see all of you. Hi, Christine. It's nice to see you, even though I saw you just a little bit ago. I am Sara Lucero, and I am the principal at Olympic Elementary School. And reading is so important, and I am happy to share some tips and hints with you guys this weekend and to share some time with my friend, Mrs. Ritz from Teaching and Learning.
Thank you. So just a quick agenda tonight. We are going to talk about the importance. Hi, Katie. Thanks for joining us. The importance of summer reading. We're going to give you some strategies for supporting summer reading. And we're going to leave you with some resources. One of them is a kickoff to summer reading kit. And it's going to be, hello, Lauren, thank you. It's going to be something that you and your child can interact with at home. And there will be some surprises in there as well. We'll talk about that a little bit later in our live broadcast. But before we get into all of that, I have to begin with a few pages of a read aloud because I am a former elementary teacher and principal, and reading books is so important and one of my favorite things to do that I thought I would model a few pages of one of my favorite books called The Day You Begin. And it's by Jacqueline Woodson. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to not just read the read aloud because it's a beautiful book, but I would like you to actually, as I read, notice what I do. So I'm going to model what a read aloud might sound like, even if I was reading one-on-one to my own child at home. And I have a 14-year-old who doesn't like me to read to her very often, but I do try. And I have a 9-year-old who I read to every night. But notice the tone of my voice, any pauses I make, questions I ask, or even my out loud thinking that I'm doing. All of that is important. So thank you to all of the people who have said hello to us and made us feel so welcome. We're so glad you're here.
We have lots of orcas joining us. Hello, everybody.
Love orcas. Love it. I love OVE, huge OVE fan. So thank you for being here. So The Day You Begin, and I want to also reiterate, I'm just reading about 3 pages of this book, but if you check out the whole book, it's a really great one and it's fun to read at home. Okay, so The Day You Begin. There will be times when the climbing bars are too high, the run is too fast and far. The game isn't one you can ever really play. I don't want him on our team. You can watch. Maybe you can have a turn later. I wonder how the boy is feeling. Sarah, do you have any ideas about how he might be feeling?
I do. As I start to look at this page and I look at the illustration and I listen to the words, I can tell that maybe he's not feeling very good about the situation.
Yeah. Have you ever felt that way before?
I absolutely can. And when I make a connection with a text, it really helps me understand more about it. And I absolutely have felt like I was not a part of something. And it didn't make me feel very good about myself.
Yeah. And sometimes we might call that feeling left out. And so when you feel left out, it doesn't feel very good. You're right. So let's keep reading because I don't want to just sit here having him feel left out. Let's see what happens next. And all that stands beside you is your own brave self, steady as steel and ready, even though you don't yet know what you're ready for. And there's a few things. Gosh, this illustration has a reflection on it, and a reflection is like a mirror image, but there's something interesting about this reflection. Sarah, do you notice, is this an actual reflection or kind of a reflection? What do you notice about the illustration?
Oh, as I'm looking at the illustration, I see that there's a boy in both parts of the reflection, but when he's got the book and he's looking into the water, the book is open and there's stuff growing out of it. So it makes me have some wonderings about what might happen next.
Yeah, me too. And I'm hearing some really awesome language that I just read. Steady as steel. And steady as steel really paints a picture in my mind about how he's feeling. Like he's kind of like feeling strong and confident, even though he's not sure what's going to happen next. Let's keep reading. There will be times when you walk into a room and no one there was quite like you until the day you begin to share your stories. My name is Angelina, and I spent my whole summer with my little sister, you tell the class. Your voice stronger than it was a minute ago, reading books and telling stories. And even though we were right on our block, it was like we got to go everywhere. Sarah, what do you think Angelina means when she says, even though we were right on our own block, it was like we got to go everywhere? What do you think she's talking about?
Well, when I read, I know that I feel like I'm inside of the book, and it makes me so excited. And so every time I read a book from a different place, it's like I get to go on a trip. And I think that's what Angelina's feeling too. Like maybe every time she reads a book, she gets to go on a trip.
I agree. And that's why we read together, because we get to explore new places and learn about other people. Next page. This is the day you begin to find the places inside your laughter and your lunches, your books, your travel, and your stories, where every new friend has something a little like you and something else so fabulously not quite like you at all. So this book is wonderful, and I would love for everyone to get a chance to check it out. It is at the Snow Isle Library that you can check out if you're interested. There are many purposes to reading a picture book. And it's for really all age groups. I've even used it in facilitating adult learning because picture books can tell beautiful stories and actually get people to think more deeply about topics. But one of the purposes of a read aloud as a parent is that you're modeling what a fluent reader sounds like. And you can think about fluency as like the flow or rhythm of reading. So it's like your tone of voice, your inflection. So when you ask a question, your voice kind of goes up a little bit. And when a student is reading with fluency, or when an adult is reading with fluency, not only does it make the book come to life in a new way, it actually is an indication of comprehension, that the reader is understanding the story enough to change the tone of voice and to change the cadence of the reading depending on what's going on in the story. Another reason we do a read aloud is because our kids' reading comprehension is typically higher than what they're able to decode independently. So when you read a picture book, your child might not be able to read all those words independently, but they can certainly, with support from you, understand the story, and they can lead to really great connections with your own child and discussions around really great topics, and will help promote your child's reading comprehension. And so that's why we do read alouds. And so that is something that we would definitely suggest. I'm going to pass it along to Sarah, and she's going to talk about why summer reading is important.
Perfect. And also, just to add on to that a little bit, it's really important that you use a book like a picture book because it really spans the ages. So you can have your 2-year-old or your 3-year-old engage in the same read aloud that you have your 5th or 6th grader even. And you can make those questions. So you can ask your 2 or 3-year-old, what color is the character wearing? And then you can ask your older child, like, how is the character feeling? What would you do in that situation? And you can really, really bridge all of those things.
Yes, and Sarah, outgoing 4th graders, absolutely, you can get a summer reading kit for an outgoing 4th grader. Absolutely, there'll be a way to fill out a form to let us know. And we'll also be talking about a partnership with Snow Isle Library in a little bit. So thanks.
And then I have some information too to share about what our elementary schools are going to be doing. So we have so much stuff to share with you.
Perfect.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. So reading is so important. It really is the gateway into everything that we do. And so it's really important for your child to be engaged in text. And text can look like a lot of different things. But the reason why it's important is because if we don't have kiddos reading over the summer, they tend to fall behind their peers. And if we have that over years, that becomes a cumulative effect where we can have some students by 5th grade being 2.5 to 3 years behind their peers if they're not reading during the summer. We know that it's not always easy to have access to text for some of our friends. Absolutely. We know that it's not always possible for all of our students to have access to text. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to be able to provide people with some kits to be able to help that. We've got some summer programs going on to be able to make sure that our students have access to text. But also, we want to make sure that we're doing our part to continue that learning no matter what. So as we look, why is summer reading important? It's because the average student only spends about 6 hours reading in the summer. And for boys, that's even less. And we know that there's lots of things to do in the summer. And that's fantastic. And we want kids to be outside. We want them to be doing really, really fun activities. But the big thing is we need to make reading a fun activity too. We need to really think about who our audience is, what our kids like, what are the things that they like to read, and make sure that we really personalize that experience. Because if we find the right book, if we find the right graphic novel, if we find the right subject, dinosaurs, volcanoes, space, if we find a medicine, the right thing for your kiddo, we can really flip that switch and help them be an engaged reader.
Absolutely. Thank you. And so I often get the question, what counts as reading? Because many parents have the misnomer that what counts as reading is only my child reading independently. And while that is one aspect of reading that's very important, and it's great to build those independent reading skills, listening to books on audio is a form of reading. That is your child listening to fluent reading and engaging in a text. So that is absolutely fine. And I know some families going on road trips over the summer, instead of just listening to music, which is also a great thing to do as well, the summer sing-alongs in the car. That's my jam as well. But maybe taking an hour on the trip to listen to an audiobook as a family and having that be a part of your summer learning adventure.
And something about that is that audiobooks are incredibly engaging. You can look for audiobooks that have there's some character differentiation. So there's more than one person that's involved in that. But also audiobooks can be cost prohibitive. But the Libby app through our local library, which every single student who goes to Oak Harbor Public Schools has for free. They all have a library card. Yep, absolutely. Thank you to our amazing library system. But every single student that goes to Oak Harbor Public Schools can get on the Libby app. My daughter uses it all the time for books as well as audiobooks. And so you can make sure that you get on there. You can find a ton of audiobooks. And if you need recommendations, let one of us know so we can help you kind of figure out what is going to fit for your family.
Absolutely. And I know that I will be checking my email throughout the summer, and Sara and I are both going to be engaged in some of the summer programming. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Let's go back to the slide that was there before. There's a few things that I also wanted to mention. Oftentimes I will get questions from our amazing multilingual families about reading in English versus reading in the language that is spoken at home or a native language. And both are equally important and valued. So just if you are a parent who might have your first language be a language other than English, let's say Spanish or Tagalog or another language, reading aloud in the language that you are most comfortable in still supports reading development in your child, and it also honors your family's culture and home language spoken. So we just don't want you to steer away from that. That's an asset to your child to be multilingual. And so exposing your child to text in both your home language and English, please, please, please continue to do that. Another question I get asked is, yes, we'll give some book suggestions for different grade levels. We will absolutely get there. Another thing I get asked is graphic novels. Is that okay? Yes, graphic novels are okay. What we are trying to do, especially for reluctant readers, they might be able to engage a little bit easier with a graphic novel, but there's some quite complex storylines in graphic novels as well. So graphic novels are okay. You can see the picture of the dad there reading to two boys at once, and that's kind of alluding to what Sara was talking about. You can do a read aloud to two different age groups at the same time and kind of customize it through the questions that you ask and the modeling that you do. And then you see that cute graphic of that young girl reading to herself. And I want to talk a little bit about that because one of the questions we get asked is, how do I know if a book is right for my child? Is it because really we don't want it to be too hard, because that could be frustrating to a child and actually over time can do damage to their reading development if we're putting them in books that are way too hard and asking them to read them independently. And we also don't want it to be so easy that they're not getting anything out of it. Reading an easy book for fun is fine every once in a while, but we want it to be at that just right level. And so one thing that you might do, number one, when you get your child's report card, you're going to get a little bit of information about your child's reading level. So that's one place to start. You can also talk to your local librarian at the Snow Isle Library to help you choose some developmentally appropriate books for your child's reading level. But one rule of thumb, if you're just kind of at home and trying to figure out a book for your child to read independently and you don't have any of those tools there, is ask your child to read the first page out loud to you. And what you're listening for is you're listening for your child to be reading fluently, maybe not like it's the easiest book in the world, but able to decode the majority of the words on that first page and reading fairly fluently, which means they're able to kind of keep a rhythm. They're not saying the, duh, da, duck, but instead they're saying the duck went to the barn, and that there's limited errors. So if that's the case, then you can say, that seems like a just right book and can help them feel successful in reading that. We don't want to give our kids, here's Pride and Prejudice. Please read this huge book. You can do it. Even though that seems like it might be something that's like, wow, I believe in you. Again, that can actually do damage to our kids' reading growth and in their confidence in themselves as a reader. So having just right books to read independently is really important. And having books that might be a little bit above their reading level, or that you're reading for a purpose for reading comprehension as a family, can really then support both the decoding skills that we need to see in kids, which is the phonics and the phonemic awareness and being able to break apart words, but also reading comprehension, which is why we read, to learn something new, to get lost in a story. There's so many reasons to read. So those are some things to think about when you're thinking about what counts as reading. And that can be fun, just like Sara talked about.
One thing too, that is a great rule for at home is the 5-finger rule. So as your kiddo reads that first page of that story, or they pick a page in the book and they read that, you count the errors. And when you get to 5, you know that book's too hard for them. So that's a really, really super easy way to figure out if it's a just right book. So you just do the 5-finger rule, and that really helps you. And for the book list, one thing that we can do is we can put together some suggestions and post them to our Facebook page. So you can have a really nice list of books too. And we can also include those in our summer reading kit.
Well, yes, we can include those in our summer reading kit as well. Some books that you can check out at the library or listen to on audio. And you will also be receiving a book or two as part of that summer reading kit as well. And that book will differ based, hopefully, on your child's age group and also interests. Other strategies for supporting summer reading. This might seem counterintuitive to what you might think, but listen, because it's really important. Going outside and playing. I know that sounds counterintuitive to reading, but actually what you're doing is building background experiences and adventure for your kids. And it actually does support reading, being outside. And we know that movement supports brain activity and readiness to learn. So being outside and moving, and then saying, hey, we're going to go outside for 20 minutes and play a game outside, or just go outside and ride your bike and then come back and read, boosts brain power. So that's really important. The other thing you see there is a family playing a game, and games build background knowledge and vocabulary and also resilience. And that's an important piece in terms of becoming a really strong reader. You also see a family just having a discussion there. And one thing that you heard me model in the Read Aloud was some vocabulary and just having conversations. And there's a lot of research about the importance. Oh, I'm so glad that your daughter loves reading and is finishing kindergarten. That is such a strong start. And that's what we want every Oak Harbor Public School student to have and to continue growing in that way. Thank you for sharing. Having discussions as a family models higher level vocabulary, builds background knowledge, and access to more complex text. And I know that sounds kind of like, wow, really? But yes, it does. And there's research that supports it. You also see a dad and a daughter out there doing some adventures, building wings and flying together, just as an example of having adventures together. Again, builds background knowledge. Even if that adventure is one in your backyard, or even if that adventure is one based off a book that you've read together, and then you go outside and do something together to build off that learning that you've just had together. And finally, you see a little girl at a library, and we want to remind you again about our partnership with Snow Isle Library System. And Sara mentioned the Libby app, and that all of our students have access to a library card, which is fantastic. The other thing that the library has going this summer is a summer reading program where you can actually get your child excited about tracking their reading, and they can earn a free book and some recognition for doing that work over the summer. And that will be advertised in your summer reading kit as well, and through some other avenues.
One more thing. Each of the schools is also going to be opening up, the elementary schools are going to be opening up our libraries this summer to our families. And so the time varies. So you're going to need to look at the school that your child goes to. But we're going to have Wednesday opportunities for kids to come into our libraries and be with some of our staff members, check out books. We have story hour that's going to happen at OVE. So there's some pretty incredible things happening around Oak Harbor to support our students' level of literacy. So make sure that you are checking everything out.
Absolutely. And also, as a reminder, movement is important too. So if you haven't already signed up your child for one of the summer movement or sports camps that we have going on, there will be more opportunities to do so coming soon. So be on the lookout for that. My last little piece about strategies for supporting summer reading is a little bit about the link between reading and writing. So we know that reading and writing actually go hand in hand and support each other. So our goal is to build strong readers and writers who are also critical thinkers and contributors to the community. And so reading a cookbook together is reading and following directions. And so maybe engaging in preparing a family meal together, or making cookies and delivering them to someone, as and then having a card enclosed and having your child write the card. I know that for my third grade daughter, she writes letters in the summer to family members, and creates the postcards and illustrations herself, and then writes postcards out, and then is very excited to get mail back from people. And also drawing. If your child is an artist, and all kids are artists in their own way, but if your child really loves to draw or paint, you could have them draw a picture first, and then you could either have them write independently about what they've drawn, or use that to actually write their own story. Or if they're not old enough to do all of that on their own, it's perfectly acceptable for you to scribe for them and capture that story for them. And then it becomes a reading piece that they've actually written, and they can practice reading it as well. Last but not least, keeping a journal. One thing I do is, well, I'll tell you two things I do. One thing I do is I actually buy fun at the dollar store journals and fun pens, because it gets my kids writing. They get excited about it, but they're just from the dollar store, not very expensive, and it makes a huge impact to have a pen with a little fuzzy ball on the top. For whatever reason, that makes my kids write more. The other thing that I do that's a little sneaky is I go to the library, and I also have a problem with books, and I buy too many of them. So I do have a lot of books in my house because I'm a teacher, but I put book baskets everywhere. I put book baskets in the car. I put book baskets in the bathroom. I put book baskets everywhere in my house. And so there's really no excuse for not finding a book to read, because they're all over the place. So you can buy like cheap bins at the dollar store, and you can have a library bin that you just kind of switch in and out with fresh books. And that way your child can never say, I don't know where to find a book, because there will be book bins everywhere. You can just say, there's one right there. So
one thing about that, I love the idea of having texts and access to books everywhere. If you need help getting text in your home or getting access to text, you just need to contact one of us, and we will make sure that you have access to texts. So if you are having trouble making sure you have enough text, or if you know somebody that could use some more books and things like that in their house, you just need to let us know so we can make sure that we're connecting people with the resources they need to be successful.
And do not be shy about it, because it's our passion, and it's actually an honor and a privilege to get books into kids' hands. So please don't be shy about it. So last strategies for supporting summer reading: setting goals as a family. We want to make this fun, and sometimes tracking minutes or making a reading log, for some kids, that's fun. For other kids, that's not fun and feels punitive. So depending on your kid and whether or not your child would like to do that, one of my children would love to track. The other one would be like, no thanks, I'm out. So find some strategies to help set some goals as a family. Also, again, having books around, whether you borrow from the library or whether you talk to us, but also modeling reading yourself, asking your kids questions about what they're reading, and just making some time to read. Even if it's 15 minutes a day that you say, hey, we're going to make sure that every day we set aside 15 minutes to read as a family. And that could be you doing a read aloud. It could be your whole family reading at the same time. It could be an audio book. It could be a graphic novel. And
magazines.
Magazines are great as well. Comic books are fine as well. And then, and after you set a goal, maybe you watch one of the films that has been made out of a book that you read together. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can set those goals and then celebrate that success together. So I'm going to pass it on to Sara. She's going to talk a little bit about our kickoff to summer reading kit.
Well, you guys, this is big news, and we're so excited. We have designated amazing amounts of stuff. Oh, yep, book baskets everywhere are really good. And I really appreciate that you guys like the encouragement. We are happy to help in any way. We have designated some resources to ensure that we are getting books into the hands of kiddos. So everybody that is coming to this is going to have access to a summer reading kit. It is going to include many things, but it's going to have books, bookmarks, pencils. We're just going to give you some amazing literacy tools to get you started on your summer reading journey. So as you go, we've already got it in the chat right there. As you go, you're going to sign up on that Google form to fill out for your summer reading kit. What's going to happen is we're going to get all of the information. We're going to order the stuff because we want to make sure that we do it pretty personalized to who we have here. And then we're going to give you more information about how you're going to be able to pick up those kits, where they're going to be, and how we're going to get them into your hands. As always, it's really important that if you do need something, that you reach out to the two of us so we can support you in your literacy and your summer reading journey. We want to make sure that we're here to help.
Yep, and there's no question that is silly to ask. If you have questions about book titles, if you have questions even about can you tell me again some questions I might ask when I'm doing a read aloud with my child? Anything is fine. Or if you just say, hey, we need some more books, or we need some more ideas. We're feeling like things are getting a little stagnant around here with the reading and we want to keep it up, just reach out. We'll be here. So if a parent couldn't attend tonight, can they still get a kit? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So Brandy, they can get to that link, but the summer reading kit signups are on the Oak Harbor Public Schools website as well. So you can just direct them to that and make sure that they get signed up so we can get the right number of stuff.
Absolutely. So I hope that, number one, you feel really excited about summer reading, because I'm very excited about summer reading. And I know Sara is too, that you feel like you learned some new strategies or some new ideas to keep summer reading at the forefront, and the importance of summer reading. And we are more than happy to answer any questions that you have. We'll stay on a little bit. This is the end of our presentation, but we can stay on a little bit to answer any questions that are still out there. But you're also not going to hurt our feelings if you sign up or if you sign off for the night too, because we know you're all busy and the sun is shining and it's a beautiful night in Oak Harbor.
I have a couple of book suggestions that have been family favorites. So we have a daughter who's now a 7th grader, and she likes to read her own books now. But one thing that she really liked, so we read
Oh, Sarah is frozen. You're frozen for a second, Sarah. So start again. Okay. Now you're frozen again with a really cute look on your face. Okay.
Oh, good.
Now you're back.
Hopefully I'm unfrozen now.
Now you're back.
So we read a book called The Secret Zoo. It is so much fun. It's got a little bit of magic in it, a little bit of mystery. So that was one of our favorites. We also really, really enjoyed the Penderwick series. Nice. Lauren, if your child just doesn't want to read, we just have to find that little bit of a spark. So maybe it's looking at a graphic novel or finding a magazine that they like. It literally can be us just digging into what are the interests first and going from there. We can start as small as looking at books. Sometimes one thing that I've had families say to me is my child is not interested in texts that fit their reading skills. And that is okay. So what we can do is if it's somebody that's interested in science, they can just engage with the pictures at first. And there's a lot that you can get from just looking at the pictures. Tell me what you see. What do you think they're doing? And using some of that to be able to help push that forward. But please come and talk to me, Lauren, because I want to know which kiddo it is, and we'll work on that. Jamie, you're absolutely welcome. I love all these orcas here. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us.
Fun. I think I chose the right person to do this presentation with, Sarah. You have a lot of fans in the audience. I love it.
The orca families are amazing. I've got a couple more books, though, a couple more family favorites. So the Penderwicks is a series of books. And it is a super fun series. These are all books that we listen to as a family or that we read as a complete family. My husband involved as well. We also like Nevermore, The Trials of Morgan Crow. That's a little bit older. That's a really good one, though. There's a whole series called the Al Capone series. And that's a super fun series for kids to read. So those are just a couple. And if you guys have other questions, please just let us know. There are so many good books out there that we can. For younger readers, a great read aloud is The Day the Crayons Came Home. And it's a bunch of crayons that are writing postcards to the owner of the crayon box. And it's really funny and engaging. And then you can write postcards as a fun family activity out to people. So The Day the Crayons Came Home is one of my favorites. And in your summer reading kit, we will include some ideas and suggestions for books. Oh, okay. Repeat the book suggestions. So I said The Day the Crayons Came Home, and then Sarah said a few as well. Absolutely. So The Day the Crayons Came Home actually has two, The Day the Crayons Quit. That's a really fun follow-up to that. So the Al Capone series is really fun. The Penderwicks is really fun. The Secret Zoo is a fantastic book. That also has a sequel. Nevermore, The Trials of Morgan Crow. That's really fun, and that has a sequel. Oh, we've got a comment from an amazing teacher over at Hillcrest. Hillcrest has new books left over from our family literacy night, and we would love to donate them for supplying the summer reading kits. Oh, that's awesome.
Awesome, Sharon. You can talk to me. Email me, and we'll figure it out. Thank you, Sharon. Appreciate you. We have some parents in the house, too.
Everybody really needs to make sure that they're looking at our district Facebook page and website to be able to get more information. Look at the Snow Isle Libraries information, but also make sure that you check out your school's information for our summer reading programs. Ours are going to be on Wednesday nights. We've got Lisa Lotta, who's here with us tonight, and she's going to be a part of that summer reading program. And so we've got some pretty cool things coming up to make sure that we're engaging our students in that continued literacy journey.
Absolutely. I think that's it for, what do you think, Sarah? Enough of a start to get people going?
Absolutely. And remember to reach out to the two of us if you need something, or if you know somebody who needs something.
Yes. And thank you so much for joining us tonight and allowing us to talk about one of our favorite topics, reading. It was such an honor to be here. And again, please do not hesitate to reach out to Sara Lucero, the principal of Olympic View Elementary, or myself, Liz Ritz, and I'm the director of teaching and learning. And we are here to support and serve our community and feel really strongly about summer literacy. So please don't hesitate to reach out.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, you guys. It's always good to spend some time with you. Bye.
Bye.